Let's talk some toys in here.
Hey, what's up everybody? Today is the Man Child. Okay, so today for review, I finally got in the new NECA dog thing from the 1982 John Carpenter film, The Thing. I could not be more excited to finally get a cool looking thing, especially a dog thing, monster, creature, figure in hand. And nobody's gonna do better NECA at this point, I think, just for what you're getting, how accurate their details are with all the parts from what I've seen so far in this box. Now, some years back, Soda Toys did make a dog thing that also came with like a McRady figure. I remember seeing that at a store. It was okay, but I never picked it up. But this is a lot better. McFarlane made some thing figures, which I do have. I'll bring them and compare them. I even do some customs with my own, couple different figures together. And of course, NEC also put out 3 versions of the McCready figure. I'll bring the one in with the flamethrower and we'll set it up once again with this later. But look at this. This is amazing. I absolutely loved that film. It was a masterpiece. I remember watching it, was like when I was 10 years old. And I probably seen it 100 times between the age of 10 and now I'm almost 50. So I can't believe that, yeah, I finally get a figure like that in hand. Check out that art. So this is a new style cover, I want to say, or type of art doing that packaging. I think they're calling it UV coating. I mean, you got to look at this in hand, just even feeling it, just the different textures and stuff. Right, so check it. Well, here's our cover. Let's open it up. Look at that. There's all your parts. I wasn't sure how they're going to go about this, but going back to the movie, so if you are familiar with the movie, one of the original scenes when they first came in contact with the Thing, and the transformation was with the husky dog. So it had different forms of transformation, I want to say, and this was the final one. And then the arms went up through the rafters later on. It was trying to escape, and they burned it up with a flamethrower. But it looks to me as you can make 2 different versions of this from what I see. So you can not only do you have the husky, and you can looks like change the head out, different parts, but you can make the first transformation and the finalized transformation, which was this thing, this part here. But all the different, I mean, it's amazing what you get. Tentacles, the crab legs, a little bit of, yeah, just awesome. Spinning over here, this is, so this is the later transformation again, when those long arms went up into the ceiling. And here's a quick look at the back of the box, or just the images of the actual figure. It's not scenes from the movie, but again, look how it looks incredible. So real quick, the first thing I want to go over is this really cool cardboard diorama to give you of the dog kennel from the Thing movie. So it's like you're looking into the back, I'm guessing. Back part of the cage. Check that out. You have some cylinders in the background, fuel drums, that dark, ominous wall. It's like you had a dory coming over here or something. And then you even have a hay floor, and the hay even goes up a little bit. Yeah, this is great for photography, or just put your Thing or McCready figure on, or wherever you want. And I'm going to use my background for the review, because that's going to work really cool for that creature instead of my typical figure background. So you can, once again, you can see it's cardboard. It's pretty big. The only thing I wish is that they would have gave you a different hay floor that was extended, so when you open this all the way up, it could meet the 2 ends. And now here's a look with the inner bubble. That's in sections, what to expect to take out of the box, where all your various parts and Thing figures, how it's laid out anyway. So you can see obviously the main husky here. Yeah, a little bit of everything. And then if you spin it around, you can see how there's, looks like 1, 2, 3 sections maybe. Yeah, here's the 3rd section in the back with all the tentacles and stuff. And then here's the directions as well. Now here's a quick look at those directions that were taped on back of that bubble. So yeah, you got Form 1 and Form 2 of the Thing dog. And it looks like you have a lot of different options here as far as tongues. And looks like the crab and spider legs fit up top. And looks like the paws can remove. And you can put, so it says multiple interchangeable parts. Interesting, a lot involved here, but these are the overall directions. Okay, so I'm still unpacking the dog. We're getting to Form 1, but I just want to show some of the more of the layout of the parts and tentacles and stuff. So when you separate that bubble with the 3 different layers, this is how your tentacles come. Pretty neat. And then that's the crab, spider, crab legs, and then the fur piece when all these little individual tentacles start coming out of the husky's back. So it's almost like its own, okay, it's a plastic fur piece. I want to make a note that it seems to me as all the little ball joints on all the tentacles and every accessory that I can see so far are all the same. That's awesome. So you can interchange, going back to those multiple interchangeable parts. You could put anything anywhere where these ball pegs will snap into. It seems to me. This one might be a little larger and a dual tentacle. That might be the only one, but aside that, they're all the same. Of course, we'll take a closer look at these as I unpack it, but just want to make a note of all the stuff. Now, here's a quick layout of all the parts for Form 1, we'll call it, at least by their directions. Right, so of course, we'll take a closer look at everything in a second, but there's the Husky, that back piece we looked at. Yeah, the various skull, and just as he was starting to morphing or turning into the thing, tentacles, different tongues, and then these little crab, well, you have 6 of these crab legs. Okay, so first up, the star of the show, or the main part, would be the Husky, right? Because obviously that was the dog that turned into the dog thing. Yeah, really cool sculpting. I love the colors. Sculpting in hair. It's good size. Now, for the most part, as far as articulation, so let's see. So the tail can go back and forth, go up and down like this. Looks like it can snap out of there. Must. And with a little work, yeah, the tail snaps off. The back legs, they are just sculpted in a sitting position, so they have no articulation. So as far as the head, let's take a look at that head sculpt. Really cool. Eyes. Now, the mouth doesn't articulate either. I mean, yeah, again, we're just going back to the scene before the dog transitioned to the thing from the movie. Would have been neat if that mouth could open up or had another head with an open mouth, but I guess we don't need that. So if you want to leave the head on as is, you can articulate back and forth. It can go up and down about that far, and you can spin it and turn it and all good stuff. And of course, this one's also on a peg. Now, some of these are a little, oh, it'll pop right out. All right, so there's our peg there. See the ball joint, right? And there's the inside of the head. All right, so I put the tail back on for now. I don't see no reason to take that off at the moment. The head's an important piece to take off, so we'll leave that off. And the other part I'm going to look at as a paws. So the paws, they're sculpted facing forward, just like he was once again in the film. Laying down. As far as the articulation, they go up, down. They basically spin all around like this. Now, these two have to come off at a certain point. I try pulling them off. I'm having a hard time. I'll have to heat them up with a blow dryer. But aside that, let's start transforming him into the thing, going back to the assembly instructions. So here's the first piece. It's going to snap onto the head. Going back to the movie, that's where once the mouth and jaw split open, this is basically what it looked like. Still see teeth on the ragged part of the jaws over here. Yeah, there's a big mess of stuff. You can see where the neck pops in. So the only things that really move is these outer ends. But yeah, the sculpting and paint, it's just amazing. And then just going to snap onto the ball peg like so. And here's a quick look with that mutated headpiece on. Still articulates and go up and down, spin all around like that. The right way is from the directions to put these pieces up, and these are lower ends. I guess you could spin all around, but you could just see how it's cutting the neck. And that would be your, going back to the movie when his head, the mouth opened up, what it looked like. So now the next piece is you get the hinge skull. It came out of that headpiece. Check that out. Now that's articulated. Wow, it can open all the way up like that. Awesome details in the teeth. It's got eye sockets in there, but no eyes. Pretty gruesome looking. So before we put this open mutated skull piece into this cavity that's, that big mess on his neck, I thought it would just plug in, but I was like, how does it snap in there? I didn't say there's no ball peg on this. You get this small piece of tongue. Right, it's pretty flexible. It has a articulated ball joint on it. And it looks like to me from the directions, you got to slide this through the back first. All right, and that's going to plug into the skull. And then this is how it's going to snap into that neck piece. And now here's that head plugged into this neck piece. There's a tongue, so you can see you can move it up and down. I don't know if I have it. I thought I had it upside down, but if I put it the other way, it didn't seem to fit into the back of the skull. So now the skull can still articulate on that. Right? Everything can move together. And of course, the jaw can still hinge up and down. But his jaw pops off easy, just those little clips, just really soft. Now here's a look with that first part of the transformation of the dog from the movie. So now they also give you a longer tongue. Also has a ball joint that can go up and down. Really flexible. Actually, it has a wire in it. Oh, that's pretty cool. Now it's also telling you can pop this jaw and that whole piece off and plug this into there instead. And now it looks like once you plug that longer section of tongue on, I guess you can use the skull as well by just pushing it over that. Okay, yeah, and it kind of just holds it like that. Jaw still articulates. So it is another option. It works all together. Here's a look at that setup. And here's a quick look with the jaw removed. So once again, the tongue, yeah, you can slide that skull back, and that's kind of what holds his head on. So you basically get 3 different ones. We already looked at the short one. Here's a long version, and I even have this like curved version as well. And then with this curved version, we're going to plug that into the neck piece. And then it can spin on a ball joint and just articulate and go up and down. And in this setup with this tongue, the skull piece really doesn't work over it because it has like that articulated or an extra tendons on it. See, so you normally, like the other tongues, have to slide this over to snap this in. Looks like you could open this up and modify it, but from the directions, it doesn't seem like it's meant to use a skull. Only the two tongues I already showed. This is kind of its own thing. So moving on, the next piece is this large fur piece. It's going to go on the back. We started bulking up. Little tentacles started flickering around. They're all set with little plugs in there, and they're glued for the most part. I actually have one that's loose. You can see that. But they're supposed to be glued. Pretty soft. Good, once again, good sculpting, paint. And I put this setup back on with the head not long tongue. I like that. And it looks like, so this is going to just snap right onto the back. This. And now here's a closer look at that. So you can see where the cutout will go up around that neck piece where it can still articulate. You push it up like that. But look at all those little tentacles. They did a good job on them. Just had the sculpting, how small they are, the paint. Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't expect to get that. I wasn't sure how they would go about that. Look around and everything. And then you could see the 6 holes where those crab spider legs are going to go. And now here's a closer look at those spider crab alien legs. You get 6 of them, obviously, and they're all the same as far as sculpt, paint, for the most part. So let's take some of these out of the way. Take a closer look at that one. Yeah, that's awesome, too. I love the detail. Really soft. These aren't a bendy wire or nothing. Got all these little spines down the lower part. And, of course, you have a ball joint here. Now does that move? Or hinge joint, excuse me. Right, and go in and out. Yeah, and then they also hinge up here as well. They could spin, go up and down. And they're all going to plug in. Again, it doesn't seem like it matters how you want to plug them in. So I have the one side done, plugged in. You can see how they articulate, but they come out really easy. I had to actually use a blow dryer to try to heat this fur piece up, as you can see, just to snap these in. I'm still having issues. So I'm going to work on that with the blow dryer, get them all snapped in, and we'll take another look at it. Alright, so I got all those crab legs on. Yeah, they took a little bit of work. You got to be careful. This one's stuck. I can't get to articulate for some reason. But all the other ones do move around. And they can move up and down. Really flexible. And you can still move this fur piece. So, yeah, I obviously left that skull on with the long tongue. Kept the tail on. And I'm going to keep the front paws on for the moment. I'll change them out. Try to change them out soon with these, because they are stuck. But look at that. That is just over the top. Okay, so I'm trying to put these tentacle pieces in like the instructions show. So I use a blow dryer, heated the back of the part of the paw here to remove the peg with the front part of the paw. Now, this is really difficult to take out. I swore I was going to snap these pegs, and this one I still can't get out. But it kind of doesn't matter anyway, because these little sections of tentacles with the ball pegs do not fit in this paw. It's like the hole's too big from this side, and just looking inside this paw, it's the same exact ball peg. Yeah, I don't understand that. So I tried another one. Same thing. It sits in there, but it doesn't clip in. Maybe I thought I'd heat this up, I could push this in more, but you shouldn't have to do that. And now going back to the instructions for a second, you can see that's what it's telling you can do or try out. The, tentacles in those sections of the paw parts I removed. But that's not working. And all the tentacles, by the way, and I'll bring them in soon, we'll check them out. They all have the same size ball peg, so I thought maybe there's a different set. Yeah, but it's not working on my figure, and if I take this other side of the paw off, it's the same exact ball peg from what I can see. And now here's a look at our Form 1 all built for the most part. I put that other paw back on. Yeah, I can't get the tentacles to work in there as I showed. Unless somehow you modify it or put some tape, maybe down the road. But I wanted to show the Form 1 setup with this kennel diorama, which is pretty cool. Again, I feel like it should have had a larger hay floor to utilize this better. You can make something up, maybe another piece of cardboard with some, go to one of the hobby stores and get some artificial hay with some spray glue, or I don't know, take put this on a photocopier machine, make a larger piece and glue it to some cardboard. I might do something like that. But it does look really cool with all the legs, it's set up, the tongue, and yeah, it feels very authentic. Looks like it jumped right out of the film. So moving on to the second form of the dog thing. So these are the 3 main parts. Here's those big arms, right? This is the dog itself, the main dog, I guess, body. And then this is looks like the first part of that face that was in the first dog form or something like that. Now bringing in that first piece, so as I said, this looks like the Yeah, first part of the dog mouth where it broke open, or the first form, but now that I don't see the teeth anymore on it, or just maybe blended in. It does articulate. I can spin or move all around like this, and it can come off, and I'm assuming you can put the other piece on. This on the dog head. I'm just going by the instructions at this point. Yeah, you can see all kinds of just, yeah, gooey sculpting and arteries and tendons and muscles and all those good things. See, these are all the plug-in holes for the various tentacles, and this is the main peg that this is going to attach to that primary dog body. And now here's a look at that primary dog body, or as once again as that the thing itself was evolving as it started going through its transformation process, and yeah, it would imitate the dogs and go through this whole explosive mess of guts to finally take take on the form and then replicate the dog, or I guess multiple dogs from what I remember in the kennel scene is what it was doing. So yeah, it's made of all kinds of parts. So check this out. This is the all right. I have dog face here. Now that jaw does articulate. Just excellent sculpting. Get the tongue in there, which is all part of sculpt. Doesn't move. Teeth. All right, check that out. Yeah, look at the dark eyes. I love the way that was just sculpted and painted. The ears are back, and the head can also articulate, go up like back and forth, can spin all around. It's also in a ball joint, so it can come apart. Has a neck piece here. It's also in a ball joint. Can swivel all around. And then let's see. So going down that neck, that's also articulated. It can spin all around. Feels like it's on a big ball joint. And then it even has a final piece that articulates between this whole neck transition to the body. So spinning upside down. So look at that. You got a mouth now with the teeth. She reminds me of the piece towards the last part of the film when the big arms went up. Once again, through the ceiling, lifted it up. I thought it had a bunch of eyes and stuff when I remember seeing, like a bunch of eyes open. I think this was the mouthpiece. And had this flower-looking thing that reached out for Childs with the flamethrower, and then he finally burned it. I'm assuming that's the mouth. I'm not sure. It might be the mouth and the arms, which I'll bring in soon. But they do have that, and the dog can basically rest on that. But anyway, taking a closer look at that. So, okay, that articulates all over the place, as said. You can see more areas for the tentacles that we're going to put on soon. Or, yeah, it's a mixture of tentacles and just different pieces to make up from the directions, which I'll get into that real soon. You have another arm over here that can, so this spins, can move in and out on a hinge joint. Look like it was just evolved later from one of those spider legs, maybe. This also articulates and can, I don't know if that can pop. Yeah, okay, come off if you wanted to. You have another upper leg, the little leg here that's, once again, mutating, trying to replicate the dog at some point. Yeah, that can spin also, the upper foot, and that can also move all around. A lot going on with this thing, just like all the parts. So here's the bottom. We already looked at that. The mouth. This piece also moves around. So you have also plug-in ends for the tentacles all over the place. And I'm going to look at them directions soon. And then you have this back piece. So that's also can spin, move all around. And it has this little sharp, kind of a, what's left of the leg, or like a blade or something. Now, I think this piece pops off to mount those larger arms. Now, finally bringing in those larger arms that reach for the ceiling in the movie. Yeah, so that too has like an open mouth that's just exploded. Teeth all over the place. Now, this is going to plug in from the directions. I think we're going to take this piece off. And it's going to plug in like that. I'll get to that soon, but checking out the rest of the details on the arms. So we looked at that. We'll get another, let's see, I guess plug-in effect for tentacle here. More teeth. And so these arms are articulated, right? They can spin all around, move on a big ball joint. Look at the details. Wow, really cool. Then we have a joint here, so the arm can also go in and out. All right, another joint there as well. Can spin all around. They're both pretty much the same as far as sculpt. I mean, it's going to have some differences here and there. And then you got the big hands, 3-clawed hands. Looks like it was once an alien or something. So let's see. Okay, so the hands themselves, the wrist can move and they can go in. Okay, move up and down like this. That's the hinge joints are facing like sideways. And then the fingers, right? So we know we have 3 fingers and they can go. They're sculpted together. down and up like that, so it has a hinge joint, and both hands are exactly the same. There's the back, the just the color, the paint, sculpt. Yeah, just really cool. And I guess these can come off as well. They're also on like hinge joints, but I'm just going to leave them on for now. Now assembling all the pieces. So this first form of the dog mount to split apart, that goes to this later piece, the neck. It looks like now this peg is going to plug into this side. Alright, so now I have this piece connected to the main dog body. Yeah, again, I had to heat this up with a blow dryer. I gotta be very careful with these pegs, I already mentioned. And now let's see, so once that's on, it seems like you can move it around, articulate it. Now here's a look with the dog just laying flat on that mouthpiece. Yeah, smooth position the legs around. And then that secondary piece set up so far. Now here's a look at all the tentacles that this creature comes with. Now before we put on the arms, because I think they're going to get in the way, score over everything real quick. So you got this, like, look at the size of this one. This is the like largest one. Now it is on a bendy wire, which is really cool, so you can position all around. Again, all these have identical ball pegs, so kind of put them anywhere you want, I guess. But I'm just going to go once again to the directions. This one too, it's a larger tentacle. Big bendy wire, and then you have, here's that little tongue piece, we can use that again. Then you have this, so here's another one, it's the only one, it's like a dual piece setup. Does that have bendy wire in it? No, it doesn't feel like it's flexible, but these small ones don't feel like they have any wires that I can see. They're just kind of bend them and form them, but for the most part, no, there's no wires. Just those larger ones, from what I could see anyway, and some of them are kind of already curved in their position how they were molded. And here's a quick look at the larger tentacle, just for the texture, the color, how it's sculpted, if anybody's curious. So as I said, we know the ball joints are all semi-or and hinge joints. Some are stuck. This one's moving back and forth. And once it's in, to plug in any part of the body, when I put it in, it will swivel back and forth. Check out all the cool details on it. And the bendy wire goes all the way up. It feels like it stops right around here. And going back to the directions, you can see how they recommend all these tentacles go into what parts of this second dog form. So that's exactly how I'm going to set them all up. But as I already mentioned, it seems like you could put them wherever you want because all the, pegs are the same. But I'm going to stick to this plan. So going back to this original piece and following that assembly instruction guide, this weird tongue with the extra tendon, it seems like in the image, this works best in this open face. So I'm going to plug this peg in there. And now one of the larger ones with the bendy wire in it, it's going to plug in back here. And now one of these smaller curved ones, ball joint will plug into this next piece. And now for one of the smaller ones, I'm going to plug into that inverted peg underneath this head. And now here's another look with that set up. So we have the tongue in, 3 different tentacles. Again, I'm going by what the instructions are saying. You could plug anything anywhere. And the larger one seems like goes back here. Check that out, and you can articulate everything, move it around, hinge joints. Some of these you need a little patience with, like the one I had to heat, kept popping out, that kind of thing. But for the most part, they work okay. And now flipping the dog thing upside down, the dual tentacle, according to the instruction sheet, seems to plug back here. At least that's where I'm going to plug it in. And now there's 4 more holes left, right? We got 1, 2. There's one under here, and there's even one in the mouth. Or you can take off this part of that dog paw here and plug a tentacle in there. But I think I'm just gonna plug them into these 4 holes. And now here's another look with all the tentacles plugged in. So I did put that larger one with the bendy wire on the outside. We got this small one here. This other smaller one plugged in here, and again, it can all articulate, and the hinge joint go up and down, spin. And then this other curved one I put inside this mouth. And they do give you one more, so I'll just use the smallest one. Again, I'm going to pop this little dog arm off and plug it in here. And now here's an overall look of all the mess of tentacles and parts we plugged into the second form of the dog thing. I mean, it's crazy stuff going everywhere. And I don't know, once you plug one of these tentacles in under the mouth, it's gonna hold the whole body up. Actually, I guess it don't matter because these will too. But just crazy. Going back to this mouthpiece, I think I'm going to take this tentacle out. And there's also another plug-in under there as well. I'm pulling the little tongues in this mouthpiece from the extra one from the dog in the beginning. Now I have that, so I put that little plug-in tongue piece in the mouth, can articulate, and the extra tentacle in that other hole. And now going back to these arms to finalize this transformation. So once again, where we already looked at the sculpt, even has another hole you can plug in tentacles or arms in the back here, but one thing at a time. So I took off this arm piece, and it's a peg. See that pops out of there, and then this arm piece is gonna go back in there, but the peg's stuck in this other joint. So I guess I'm gonna have to remove it and then put it back in here and then snap it back into the set of arms. So here's a double ball peg end that I took out of that piece. You gotta be very careful. I had to heat it up and pulled it out with some tweezers. Don't snap this. And I guess it's gonna snap. Might have to heat this up and then push this end in this part first, or the dog body, but I'm gonna do the arms first. All right, so I got that peg in this end, and I wish it was a little bit longer, but with a little force it pushed right in. And now trying to move all these tentacles out of the way, going back to this body and this back piece. If I'm reading the directions right, you got to pull some of this back. It was flexible enough, and try to line it up and snap it back into this end. And now here's a look with that snapped on. So it did go in okay. You have to move a lot of these tentacles out of the way. Maybe these arms should have went on first before these back ones, but it seems like it's holding all right, and it can articulate a little bit back and forth as far as this like mouthpiece. So I wanted to plug in this little piece back here where the dual tentacle was, and I'm going to put this tentacle with the dual piece of the Y piece into where this other arm is. A lot easier. And that's what's cool. Once again, you can put these anywhere you want. And now here's a final look at the setup for Form 2. I followed the instruction manual somewhat close, but I had to change things around. Things got in the way of the arms. And so with the arms here, you can move them around like this, articulate them, and go up and down all around, right? This peg seems to be holding okay. You got to move some tentacles out of the way like this, but for the most part, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Just the whole layout, what you can do. And now here's a look with the dog thing, or the Form 2 all set up using this diorama background. Again, looks really cool, but as I already mentioned, could use a bigger floor or a different hay layout to make it really work better. But it's just all the different things you can do with this. So we can spin the head around, the tentacles, this piece, make the arms reach for the ceiling like it did in the movie. But yeah, they are kind of loose, and they're not as tall. I mean, I don't know if the ceiling was a little bit taller, I think, but for the most part, it's creepy and really cool what you can do with it. Alright, so moving on to some comparisons. Of course, here's our dog thing Form 1, as we already built according to the directions, and now our dog thing Form 2, as we also built with all the tentacles and all good stuff. As far as mixing and matching parts, as I already mentioned a couple times, the ball pegs all look the same, so you could probably change these spider crab legs out with areas where the tentacles are, and the tentacles into the body, tongues, the heads. This head, too, looks like it could pop off. You might be able to change it out with that open piece, but right now I can't get it off. I'm just going to leave them as is. These ball pegs are very delicate. I can't push that enough. Now, the tail on my Husky broke off behind camera. I just glued it back on. I almost broke this leg off, messing with some parts, because I was going to switch and swap parts just to have some fun. But I'm just going to leave them as is. This is what the directions are showing, but the parts are interchangeable for the most part, depending on where you're trying to put them, because of curves and designs. Some things fit, other things don't. But for the most part, there's those two together. So next up, here's a comparison with the Thing Form 2 against our McCready version 2 with the flamethrower, which is the coolest one. So if you're not familiar with that, I put them on a figure stand. But it's a flamethrower, did a good job. Has his gun belt with the 357, right? The little flame effect. Great head sculpt. Now, this isn't obviously film accurate. It'd be cool to set this thing up in the background, him facing that way. But again, it's just for comparisons on camera. But yeah, look, it's really cool to have these figures from that movie, especially McCready and now the Thing. And I also want to bring in real quick the last version of McCready that was put out, or the last stand. Really cool cover. I didn't review this, so I'm just going to leave it in a card for now. So you're pretty much getting, McCready once again, very similar, but different head sculpts, the dynamite, the cocktail bombs, you get a flare, the frost around a glass. It's a pretty cool version, but for people who didn't pick up a McCready with the flamethrower, you did. You want the last version, this is what it looks like. And now here's a side-by-side comparison with, once again, a McCready version 2 with the flamethrower against the version 1 dog thing, just for scale and size and what those two look like together. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Soda Toys put out a thing set, which I don't have, but these are the McFarlane ones I was talking about. For people who aren't familiar, this is how it would size up to this McCready figure. I mean, not the scale. It's the 7-inch McFarlane on a little smaller scale. This was the Blair head when the head came off with the spider. Yeah, cool detail. It's not 100% movie accurate, just with the legs from what I remember. Just some changes. McFarlane kind of did his own thing in a day. But we'll take a look at that. And this was the, I think they call it the Blair monster at the end of the film. Came up through the floor with the dog coming out. I mean, that detail is really, over the top. It should be a lot bigger to match up McCready. But again, McFarlane was doing something different at the time. And now I want to bring the version 1 dog thing in, just to see how they scale up between these McFarlane thing figures. And now, of course, I brought in the version or Form 2 thing, and just see how they also scale up with that figure. And now here's my custom thing that I mentioned also in the beginning of the video. So this was also a McFarlane thing, this part here all the way down to the, that I have mounted in this guy's chest. So McFarlane made that, and then I think this was a NECA figure from, I want to say Left 4 Dead. Also was very mutated. So you can take a closer look at that. It's so basically what I did was I took this figure, I cut the chest open, I mounted this lower piece in there, glued it. I want to put some teeth in here and do more work. I haven't got to that, but I thought it'd be a cool body laying on the table, and you can see the head was already mutated with tentacles. I think I added one over here, something like that. And then I made a table. This is out of stock that you get from the hobby store. It was just white. Yeah, I cut it, made like a operating table, primed it, sprayed it with like a silver paint. So that's kind of how I did those two together. Now I also want to bring in this whole custom setup, or at least the if you had the McFarlane, this upper thing piece figure against the Form 1 dog thing. And now here's a comparison with that McFarlane custom thing setup I have against our dog thing Form 2. And if you get this, or you get an extra one, you have this upper piece, and your customizer, you can, drill holes and whatever you got to do to customize. You can use tentacles on this thing figure, any of the McFarlane ones, and pieces from this and vice versa if you really wanted to get into customization. So that's my overall review on the new NECA dog thing figure. Yeah, it came out awesome. Don't get me wrong. It's just so cool, different parts you get. How they can, I want to say, switch back and forth with the ball pegs if you want to risk that. And, I was going to say it again, be very careful because everything's very delicate. Looks really film accurate. I feel like some things were sort of cut and other things were added, like the bottom side when you going back to that movie, like eyes missing, that little weird tongue thing that came out towards the end. But they added other things instead, maybe, like, I don't know. It's such a mess of stuff. I mean, I'm not complaining. You get a bit, and there's a lot going on here too, to be fair. So you got to expect things are going to be delicate, but there's so much possibilities for customization if you get 2 of these, or with the McFarlane things, or maybe other creature figures, and they scale up good with the McCready, at least the one with the flamethrower. I think they came out great, and the box alone is just awesome. And if you really wanted to, you can take all these, everything apart and put it back in the bubble, seal it up with some tape, and mint on card again. You want to do that. There's a lot of parts, but it is possible, collector friendly. Beside that, it's incredible to finally have the dog thing from that film. So I appreciate everybody watching, and until next time, take care.